recently finished a series of videos responding to a PragerU video called God and Suffering. In that video, the presenter, Professor Peter Kreeft, says this:
For the atheist, on the other hand, no suffering is ever set right. There is no ultimate justice. The bad win and the good suffer. Earthquakes and cancers kill. End of story. Literally.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. There's really only one reason to say such things. Pete thinks you'll feel bad, and he hopes to use those bad fear-based feelings to persuade you. I often get this same kind of argument in the comment section here on my videos. If there is no God, fill in the blank. There's no objective morality. If there's no God, people will run wild, raping and pillaging. If there's no God, then it's stupid for me to be giving 10% of my gross income to this ridiculous religion. Okay, I never get that last one, but it's true. I don't want to look at the merits of these arguments. I've done that already. The more interesting thing about them is their utter disinterest in and disregard for the truth, preferring our feelings instead. There may indeed be no ultimate justice. The bad may win, the good may lose. But none of this is or should be a good argument for believing anything. I don't like X, therefore Y must be true is simply invalid. In essence, Pete is using the darkest parts of our reality as an argument for rejecting our reality altogether. But only because such realities are emotionally and psychologically unbearable for him. Dennis Prager, the dean of my alma mater, PragerU, go Devils, makes a similar argument.
My belief in God and the afterlife keeps me sane.
Where do they find the courage? Their solution is to do whatever you must to assuage the horrific feelings these realities cause in you, even if that means denying the reality thereof. This is the essence of religious apologetics as well. Say whatever you must. Twist this or that scripture until it's unrecognizable. Move the timeline of history in some dishonest way. Whatever it takes, we must not let the painful realities win, to which some will say, oh, just let them have it. If it makes them feel better, just let them have it. There are two problems with that, particularly when living in a pluralistic democracy. First of all, for all intents and purposes, these narratives become reality for the people who believe them. And people act in accordance with what they believe to be real and true. In the case of religion, the comfort sought by those who find reality unbearable comes with additional costs in no way related to that comfort. People don't just take the comfort provided by the religious beliefs and go home. They're told they have to embrace additional doctrines and articles of faith, including ideas which have proven to be poison, martyrdom, misogyny, homophobia, the demonization of those who think otherwise, etc. This is how we get people blowing themselves up on buses, flying planes into buildings, shooting abortion doctors, or denying fellow citizens their 14th Amendment right to equal protection. We're seeing this very thing play out in Alabama and other Bible Belt states as they attempt to restrict access to safe, legal abortions because of a narrative supposedly, though not in any way clearly outlined in their holy book. The larger problem, though, is that this kind of thinking will not be contained. It will infect every aspect of a person's life, and eventually, if enough people think this way, a great democracy can fall ill to absolute self-deception as a large percentage of the population deny the realities of life, with those who can afford to, isolating themselves from these realities as much as possible. These are the people who embrace a world of alternative facts where truth isn't truth. Eventually, everything becomes nothing more than spin, with our leaders appealing to whatever feelings they can evoke, regardless of whether those feelings are actually justified by the realities. And of course, fear will be the emotion most likely provoked because fear is what birthed this way of thinking in the first place. In my 20s, I read Ernest Becker's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Denial of Death, which gave me a certain empathy for this way of thinking. But if things are really as bleak as Pete proposes, fantasy is hardly the way out, as the fantasy will become more important than the reality. And that will make reality even worse. We've seen that happen time and time again, and without a single benefit to recommend it. If you don't know the cause or refuse to acknowledge it, you'll never find the cure. Facing reality, embracing the truth of our reality, wherever that truth comes from, not only compels us to relieve the suffering, seek justice, protect ourselves from earthquakes, and cure cancer, it provides the very tools needed to do so. Brian Dalton. You may know me from my role as the wacky Mr. Deity here on YouTube. But at the end of the day, my favorite role is that of an educator. Like you, I'm concerned about the declining level of education in this country. And nowhere is that more evident than among the religious. So I'm doing something about it. In study after study, scientists have discovered that nothing is more associated with intelligence, happiness, health, and honesty as, you guessed it, swearing. Which is why today I'm announcing Polluteflix. Think of Polluteflix as a Netflix for motherfuckers who know the value of a really good asshole or cocksucker. How are we doing this? Well, first off, we're focusing all of our goddamned attention on those shitbags who need it most, the uber-religious. We're taking some of those fucked up Christian films from the last few years and adding swearing, cursing, obscene hand gestures, and where inappropriate, full frontal nudity. If Christians will just give us a fair suck of the salve, we're confident they'll be able to see how they've been getting buggered all these years by these hypocritical wankers and twats. And if you haven't picked up on it already, yes, we're planning international versions for our friends in Great Britain and Australia. Hell, if we can raise enough money, we're also planning our own versions of the New Fucking Testament and the Titty Suck Torah. I shit you not. How can you help? Go to patreon.com/Mr. Deity. The link is in the description below. And become a patron, dickwads. Even $1 per video will help us bring these ignorant fucktwits out of the darkness. Think of how good we'll all feel when these brainwashed tight asses lighten up. You'll be proud to say, holy jumpin' fucking Jesus, I was a part of that. So help me launch Polluteflix and save this country from another goddamned God-caused dark ages. If we let this shitstorm continue, we all might as well bend over and pick up the soap. And I'm talking no lubricant of any kind. It will not be pleasant. Polluteflix for motherfuckers who know the value of a really good asshole.